Chapter 7. I Found My Mother. March 2nd, 2018. On this day, I opened an account with an entirely different online people locator service in an attempt to find my oldest sister, Carla. I found some information about her, but was unable to locate her. I had 5 days of unlimited searches. After I finished my search for my sister, I decided to perform one last search for my mother. I did not really expect to find her, but I felt somewhat hopeful that I might at least find some information about her. I definitely did not think I would find her alive. I searched, and for the very first time in all of my years of searching, I received a hit for my mother's name, exact state, and date of birth. I even saw a current email address for her. I was thinking I had actually found current information for my mother and feeling like this could actually be the end of my very long journey. However, I was scared to get happy too quickly. In the past, I had been able to find numerous women with my mother's current first and last name, but none who shared both her state and date of birth. I had also been able to find those women named Geneva earlier who had the same date of birth as my mother but with no matching last name or location. I had written a letter to every one of those women named Geneva on January 8, 1998 with no success, but this search was different. After all these years, I felt hopeful in my heart that this might actually be her. I wanted to call my oldest brother, Jerome, and tell him the news right away, but it was just so hard to believe. I was afraid to become excited until I knew for sure. But how would I find out for sure? As I examined the report closer, I noticed an 80-something-year-old man with a different last name living at the same address. It appeared that my mother could be living with an older gentleman. When I searched for the address online, I found the official name of the residence, and it appeared under the category of nursing homes. I presumed that my mother was living in a nursing home and that the man in question was a resident in the same nursing home. Further online research uncovered a phone number to the nursing home. When I called the number, the phone rang several times, then gave a busy signal. I called the phone number from late morning until early afternoon, and the same thing kept happening. I did some more online research to try to find a phone number to a location nearby, close to the nursing home address. I called a nearby nursing facility and spoke with a woman who informed me that the address where my mother appeared to be living was actually a boarding home where numerous people resided. She told me that the address in question was just one of many boarding homes in the area. At that point, I called my brother and shared with him my suspicion that I think I may have found our mother, but that I was still trying to figure things out. My brother asked me what name I had used to find her. I told him I found her under the current last name she is using and told him the name. I told him I did not want to share all the information with him yet because I was still researching. Little did I know, he took the name I gave him and immediately researched for himself and found the exact same information that I had. Within minutes, he had done an online search for himself, then called me back with the same nursing home conclusion that I had come to. He pretty much recounted what had happened to me, a phone that was never picked up. We both kept trying for hours to call the phone number with hopes someone would eventually answer. Finally, at around 7 o'clock that evening, I called the phone number one last time. This time, a woman actually answered the phone. Her name was April. I explained to April that my mother left my 5 siblings and me with our father when I was only 2 years old, almost 50 years ago. I told her that I did an online search and it appeared my mother might be living at this boarding home. She asked what my mother's name was. I told her the first, middle, and last name and asked if there was an older woman with that name living there. She said there was a Geneva who had my mother's last name, but she did not know her middle name. I told her my mother's date of birth and asked if it matched the Geneva who lived there. April confirmed that it was a match. Still in disbelief, I went on to describe Geneva's skin color. She said my description sounded about right. When she described Geneva's facial features, my hope increased that this could actually be my mother. April said it sounded like we were talking about the same Geneva, but she said Geneva never said anything about having children. I had always wondered if she had children, April said. She always acted evasive whenever the subject would come up. She continued, "This all makes sense now." By this, I think April suspected Geneva's evasiveness may have been a sign of her deep-rooted pain of living so many years without her children, or maybe a sign of embarrassment for having abandoned us. Suddenly, April asked me a question that I was not expecting. "Would you like to talk to her?" I responded. "She can talk?" You see, I always imagined my mother being immobile, lying in bed at some mental hospital, unable to talk due to being all drugged up. Therefore, when April offered to go get her so I could talk to her, I felt stunned. That was not something I expected to hear at that moment. April said, "Yes, she can talk," and called her to the phone. Those few moments of waiting for Geneva to come to the phone felt so surreal. Am I really getting ready to hear the voice of my own mother after all of these years? I asked myself. When Geneva came to the phone, she said, "Hello?" Her older, scratchy voice did not sound all the way I expected. I thought it would sound similar to mine, or my daughter's, or at least similar to one of my sisters. A part of me really did not think this was the woman I was looking for. "Hello, is this Geneva?" I said. I felt my voice trembling, but I strived to maintain my composure. She said, "Yes." I told her I believe I may be one of the 6 children who she left in Kansas City almost 50 years ago. I was so nervous that I did not tell her what my name was. I was too busy trying to reassure myself of her identity. I proceeded to ask her some identifying questions. She answered yes to them all in a very calm tone of voice. Then she asked, "Who is this?" I felt puzzled about why she asked who I was after she had already answered all of my questions. I felt like if she knew she had abandoned 6 children, she should have known I was one of them. In hindsight, maybe she needed me to calm down and tell her my name and explain exactly which one of her children I was. If all of your responses to my questions are true, then I am your daughter. She said, "You don't sound like my daughter." I asked her to confirm her date of birth. She said, "I'm not answering any more questions because I don't know who you are." She took the phone away from her mouth to talk to April, who was standing beside her while she was talking to me. She said to April, "This doesn't sound like my daughter. This is not my daughter." Then she said to me, "I don't want to talk to you anymore." April whispered to Geneva, "Ask her to come and see you so you can be sure." Geneva said, "Come and see me." Those words made me feel very excited and hopeful. I asked her, "If I came to see you, would you actually talk to me?" She said, "Yes, come on," as if she thought I was close by. I explained to her that she was in a different state and I was in Missouri, so I could not just come right over, but that I would come as soon as I possibly could. I told her it might be some days or maybe a week or 2, but I would definitely be there. I also told her that when I arrive, I would be bringing some of her other children with me. I told her we had all missed her and wanted to see her. She said, "Okay, come on." I said, "Okay," and asked her to put April back on the phone. I asked April if Geneva actually understood what she was saying to me and if she was able to understand what I was saying to her. April assured me that indeed she understood everything I said and that she communicates very well. When she has a problem or if she needs something, she comes to the office and clearly expresses what's on her mind, April said. I told April that Geneva had confirmed all of the information that I had asked her. I told April I was concerned because I actually asked the questions, and Geneva simply replied yes to my questions. She did not actually volunteer any of those facts. April assured me that Geneva fully understood what she was saying yes to. She told me Geneva was nice and quiet and that she does not bother anybody. She is compliant with taking her medications. She gets up every morning, takes a shower, and puts on clean clothes. She never has a bad odor like a lot of the other patients who live here, April said. Her only vice is that she loves to smoke. She is in good overall health, except she walks slowly with a limp because there is something wrong with her hip. She also confirmed that my mother has a mental illness. April continued, "She is fine as long as she takes her medication. If she were my mother, I would bring her to live in my home with me." She told me how excited she was that I had found my mother and about the reunion that was soon to take place. She explained that people who live there do not have families or people who call and come visit them. She told me Geneva had been living there for 15 years and nobody had ever called or come to visit her. She continued, "So when you said you were her daughter, I hurried up and brought her to the phone." We totally support families who are searching for their long-lost loved ones. April expressed to me that she was very excited about this reunion and that she could not wait. She asked me to make sure to let her know when we were coming so she could make certain she was present for the reunion. She said she did not want to miss this moment. However, she also wanted to be there to support Geneva since this would be a very emotional moment for her. "I don't want you to think you are coming to some nice place. When you and your brothers see where she is living, you will want to take her up out of here immediately," she said. She also advised that we probably should not let Geneva know the exact date we were coming because there was a chance she would purposely run to avoid meeting us after all of these years. When I hung up the phone after speaking to my mother in April, I felt a sense of disbelief. I called my brother Jerome and told him I finally got an answer at the phone number that he and I had been dialing all day long. I told him that I actually spoke to our mother. I told him everything she and I had discussed. So when my brother got off the phone with me, he tried calling the phone number one more time and he managed to speak to our mother too. He called me back immediately after their talk. His conversation with her was similar to mine. He asked her a few questions about herself to confirm that she was really our mother, and she answered them until finally she insisted that she would not answer any more questions about herself because she did not know who he was. She ended their conversation by telling him to come see her. After comparing the details of our conversations, my brother and I felt that we had indeed just found our mother. So we told our other two brothers, and we all became excited about taking a trip to finally meet our long-lost mother for the very first time in almost 50 years. All of those years of searching finally came to fruition. The years I almost gave up were overshadowed by the fact I had found my mother. To learn what happens during the trip after we arrived and how our mother reacted when she met us, please read Reuniting with Mother, A Story of Tenacity.
If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.